I declare war. So today we're going to talk about Stacey Dash and some controversial comments that she made. Shout out to my sister. I see you in the chat room. I'm going to give people a few minutes to tune in. I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes for the people to come in. I'm going to play some background music real quick while we wait. Okay, I had to turn down the audio. Can you all hear me? At first it said 0 viewers. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes. I see a couple of people are on. I'm going to get started in a second. So if y'all could just bear with me a second. I'm going to try to see if I could play some background music real quick while we wait. If y'all could bear with me a second. All right, so we're going to get started. Just give me 1 second. Shout out to Elaine Lloyd. Shout out to my sister. Thanks for tuning in. This shouldn't be a long hangout, and I may do one right after this one. So y'all look out for that. I'm thinking about doing another one on Crystalline Cares, and I may respond to a troll. A troll left an extensive comment to one of my videos, and I may just do a response to that troll. But we're going to get started. And I'll get to your comments in 1 second. Okay, if y'all could just bear with me a second. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so yesterday I came across this story right here about Stacey Dash. And before I read this story, and I'm not going to play the video because I don't want to have to deal with copyright issues. So y'all just going to have to bear with me a second. But you all are familiar with the protest that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia last year, where you had a group of white supremacists assemble the night before. Like what they did is there was a large group of white men who came on a campus and they were bearing torches, reminiscent of Nazi demonstrations, reminiscent of KKK demonstrations. You all will recall that the KKK used to bear torches when they terrorized Black communities. They used to light crosses in Black communities to terrorize the Black community. So you had this group of white supremacists assemble on a campus in Virginia the night before, saying things about white lives and, shouting and spouting racist slogans. And then the following day, you had an assembly of all these white supremacists from all over the country. And I'm going to put up some images while we talk so that you all can see, exactly what we're talking about, so that you can have images to go along with what I'm talking about. So you remember this rally where you had these guys assembled with torches the night before. And then the following day, you had violent clashes in the streets where you had KKK members, some of them, and, Nazis, alt-right, and an assembly of all these white supremacists. You had people like David Duke there. A hate rally where these people were saying all kinds of racist things. And you had some bold, courageous Black men and women confronting these racists. You had some courageous people from Antifa confronting these racists, confronting these bigots and racists and all that kind of stuff. And during this demonstration, an African-American man was brutally beaten with sticks. And that brother's name is DeAndre, and he had a gash in his head and blood was pouring down his face. Also, you had a white woman who was struck by a vehicle. You had this white supremacist ram his car into a crowd of people who were there protesting against white supremacy and racism. This man rammed his car into that crowd, killing one woman and injuring many people. Now, after this event, after this horrific hate rally took place, Donald Trump waited for quite some time before he made any comment about it. And then when he eventually commented about the situation, after coming under all this pressure for not speaking out on this issue of race, on this race situation in Charlottesville, this man basically defended the people that were participating in this hate rally. And this man attacked the people who were actually there to demonstrate against hate, to demonstrate against white supremacy, to demonstrate against racism. He referred to them as the alt left. He talked about how they were charging. He talked about how they were violent. And this is not the white supremacists that he was complaining about. This is the people, these are the people who were protesting against racism. This man directed most of his complaints against those people. And then this man was defending these white supremacists who were protesting against the removal of the Robert E. Lee statue. And you know that Robert E. Lee was a general in the Confederate Army. We all know what the Confederacy was all about. And it's no coincidence that you see these hate mongers with these Confederate flags. It's no coincidence. That's who these people are. And that's what that flag represents. It represents hate. You see that flag next to Nazi flags. That is not a coincidence. That's by design, because those two symbols are one and the same. They're similar because they are both symbols of hate. They are both symbols of oppression. That's what they represent. That Confederate flag represents the oppression of our ancestors. It represents the enslavement of our ancestors. Those people who represented that Confederacy fought, killed, and died to defend their right to enslave our ancestors, to defend their right to sell and own our ancestors, to defend their right to beat, rape, and abuse our ancestors. That's what they were fighting for. And even though they lost the Civil War, they still hung on to that symbol of hatred. You know, during the civil rights movement, when our people were just demanding basic rights, like the right to eat where they want to, or go to whatever hotel they want to, or go to a movie theater, or eat at a lunch counter, basic things like that, drink at whatever water fountain they want to drink at, you know, sit wherever they want to sit in the bus, have the basic right to vote, have the right to an equal education. When our people were fighting for those basic human rights, you had these people, these racists, these white supremacists demonstrating and protesting against our basic human rights. And not only that, you had them actually terrorizing our people. And the symbol that they used when they were protesting against us exercising our basic human rights was that Confederate flag. All you have to do is look at old pictures from the 60s when you see the protest against segregation. I'm going to try to pull up something real quick right now. Just so that people can see exactly what we're talking about. You have a picture right here where these people are protesting against civil rights with a Confederate flag. You have George Wallace. You know, they had a Confederate flag behind him. You know, that's what these people represented when they protested against our basic human and civil rights. Another example. So that flag is nothing but a symbol of hatred. So despite all this stuff that was going on, you had this guy, Donald Trump, defending these Confederates, defending their right to protest, to maintain these statutes of hatred. That's what they are. That's similar to the equivalent of someone protesting to keep up a statue of Hitler. That's what it's like. But in Donald Trump's mind, this is some kind of noble protest. In his mind, there's blame on both sides. In his mind, he was complaining about how these people were treated, these white supremacists, these right-wing fanatics, these racists. He was complaining about how they were being treated unfairly. And he talked about how there is blame on both sides, even though it was the white supremacists who actually killed people. It was the white supremacists who actually beat people. And one of those white supremacists actually fired a gun near a crowd of people in order to intimidate people. But yet in Donald Trump's mind, there were some very fine people in that crowd of white supremacists. In his mind, there were two sides to the story. In his mind, there was blame on all sides. And the thing that makes this whole thing bad, you know, is that you have a woman like Stacey Dash defending this. You know, she was on this interview on MSNBC, and she was asked whether or not Donald Trump was right in his statements about these white supremacists. And this is what she said. You know, she was asked about this. You know, if she thought Donald Trump was right when he said there's blame on all sides and that there were some very fine people on both sides. She said this. She said, I think he's absolutely right. And then she went on to say this, you know, and then she was asked about these Nazis and white supremacists and what she thought about them. And this is what this woman said. She said, I'm not here to judge. The only one who can judge is God. I don't know every person in the neo-Nazi party, if they have a good heart or not. No, I do not. Do I know every member of a gang, whether they have a good heart or not? No, I don't. Do I know every man in prison, if he has a good heart or not? No. So this woman not only said this man was absolutely right. This woman is talking about some Nazis possibly having a good heart. How in the hell can a Nazi have a good heart? help me understand this, a Nazi, somebody that believes in white supremacy, a Nazi. Nazis are responsible for genocide of the Jews, killing over 6 million Jews. And you have Nazis today that make excuses for that genocide. You have Nazis today that try to pretend like that genocide never took place. You have Nazis today that have the same hatred, not only towards Jews, but towards Black people. These same people believe that Black people are inferior, that Black people are subhuman, that Black people are on the level of apes. But yet you have this Black woman talking about she doesn't know if they have a good heart or not. That is just ridiculous to me. You know, a hate monger doesn't have a good heart. That doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure that out. So let me get off my, stop sharing my screen and get back to the visual so you all can see. Then I'm gonna go into your comments real quick. I'm gonna look at your comments, and then I'm gonna provide more comments about Stacey Dash and what I think about her. Yeah, again, I want to shout out the people who are tuned in. It's just a couple of people, but you know, another point that I want to make about Stacey Dash is, first of all, she's not even a real Republican. She's not a real conservative. This woman is putting on a show just for the sake of making money. That's what I believe. This woman actually voted for Barack Obama in 2008. And now all of a sudden she expects us to believe that she's some kind of conservative. I think that what she is doing is putting on a minstrel show for these people so that she can get money, so that she can get more attention and fame, and so that she can become relevant. Because before she got on these talk shows, before she was on Fox News, like, she had faded from the limelight. You know, nobody even recognized her anymore. Nobody was talking about her anymore. She was on some show. I can't remember what channel it was on, but she was on one of these women's shows or whatever, like a drama. And then she later left that show, and she was basically obscure until she got back onto Fox News and started making all these ridiculous comments and stuff like that. So it was a way for this woman to become relevant. And that's what I think that this campaign is about. You know, this woman was on Fox News for a period of time. She basically got let go from Fox News, and now she's trying to worm her way back into the media and into the spotlight with this ridiculous campaign. You know, right now she is running for Congress in a predominantly Democratic district. She has zero chance of winning. She has a snowball's chance in hell of winning. And I think that the only reason why she's running is so that she could get more attention drawn to her name, and so that she could get some book deals or some other kind of TV deal or radio deal, so that she could have some kind of program. This is all about her making money. And I don't really believe that she's a conservative. I think what she's doing, just like in the minstrel shows when Black people would put on makeup and act like a complete fool for the entertainment and amusement of white people, I think that this is what that woman's doing. She's putting on a Mammie show for these people. You know, this woman has denigrated her own people, you know, attacked her own people, just like an attack dog. That's what these conservatives do. These so-called conservatives do. You know, and these people can't even really be considered like genuine conservatives. And they have given Black conservatives a bad name, because nowadays what we equate with Black conservatives is cooning, tomming, shucking, jiving, shining, and ass kissing. That's what we equate with these Black conservatives, because half of the time, most of the time, all they do is serve as an attack dog for white supremacy. They serve as mouthpieces for white supremacy. You had this woman, you know, talk about how Black people are uneducated. You had this woman talking about how Black people feel worthless, you know, talking about how basically Black people are dependent on welfare and stuff. You had this woman talk about there's a need to get rid of Black History Month, and there's a need to get rid of, you know, Black award programs like the Image Awards and, you know, the NAACP, and also to get rid of BET, you know, the BET Awards and stuff like that. She said that at a time when people were protesting against the Oscars and their whole, you know, Oscars so white situation, where you had very few Black people, if any, nominated for anything. And her response to that, instead of dealing with the racism of the Academy and of Hollywood, was to turn on her own people and attack her own people. And I think that that's sick, man. I think that there's something wrong with that. I think it's another example of somebody playing the role of the Mammie, of the coon, of the Uncle Ruckus. And it's a shame that we have so many Black people who are so eager to play that role, so eager to pander, so eager to shuck and jive and coon for attention and for money. You see it right here on YouTube. You see it on Fox News every day. Every day on Fox News, they have some other coon on that show. But the fact that you would have a Black woman essentially vouching for Donald Trump, supporting Donald Trump's statements about Charlottesville, where he was basically defending white supremacists. How can any Black person in their right mind co-sign anybody who defends white supremacists? That's what that guy basically did at the end of the day. I mean, he tried to make these little statements saying he's against the Nazis and this and that. But at the same time that he says that, he's defending these people. He's making excuses for them. He's talking about how they're treated unfairly. He's talking about how there's blame on both sides. He's talking about how there's some very fine people on both sides. And while he says all that, he attacks the people who were actually standing up to racism. But yet you have this woman, this minstrel, this Mammie defending that. But yeah, you know, I don't want to keep y'all too long, man. I just had to get this off my chest. Y'all can let me know if y'all, hopefully y'all heard everything. You know, I didn't check in with y'all, but hopefully y'all can hear me okay. I see it's just a few people here. You know, so for people that check this out on the playback, you know, tell me what you think about Stacey Dash and her run for Congress, and what do you think about her co-signing Donald Trump? So with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings to y'all. Thanks for tuning in. And I may do another hangout in a few minutes where I respond to a troll. Shout out to Nelly B3000. Shout out to Dolly. Shout out to Elaine Lloyd and my sister. So with that, I'm going to say peace. In a few minutes, I may be back up. So hopefully y'all will be hanging around. Peace. Good night, y'all.